Hello there, and welcome to today's training on how to leverage the power of diversity. We are in such an exciting age right now, right? Exciting time where we get to learn how to really do this. And I've never actually experienced a time like this before where we are really just embracing it to the level that maybe we haven't in the past. So I'm so excited to come to you today and share a couple of things for you to consider as a leader on how you can really not only just embrace diversity and that diverse workforce, but how you can leverage the power of diversity to really excel in your leadership and to bring out the best in your team, regardless of differences, backgrounds, all of those kinds of things. So I was working on a training for my mastermind called Leadership Mastery Alliance, and I thought, why not pull out? Like, there was so much information and so much, like step by step that I was sharing with my clients, and I'm getting ready to train them on. And I wanted to come to you because there's so many golden nuggets in here, and I wanted to come to you and just share a couple of things that I think might be helpful, because I didn't want to keep it all contained. I wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to at least get started with this, and hopefully this will give you a couple of things to think about. I would love it if you would let me know in the comments if there's anything that you're learning or taking away from this, and also how you're applying this, and also any ideas that you want to share with others as well. Maybe what has worked well for you in the past, what currently works well for you, if you're working in a diverse team and leading a team that is made up of people from different with different experience, different backgrounds, all of those kinds of things. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into these three things that I want to share with you today. One is embracing this inclusive leadership, what we're calling inclusive leadership. And what I mean by that is really valuing people as individuals, right? So I know we have very much like this team culture and team mentality around, like, coming up with or being a unified team and that kind of thing. But when it comes to leadership, one of the really important things is that you're also valuing people as individuals. And that means, making sure that their contributions are recognized, making sure that you're doing the things that make them feel valued, regardless of their background, experience, and all of those things. So one other thing I wanted to share with you here is the importance of active listening and empathy, because these two things, even if you don't quite understand where your team is coming from, and I hear this a lot from my leaders, that I'm not sure why they would react in that way, or I don't know why they would respond in that kind of way. To me, it was no big deal, but I don't understand where that could be coming from. So if you have any kind of like confusion around that and that kind of thing, two things to definitely keep in mind when it comes to embracing inclusive leadership is, one is active listening and really paying attention to empathy. And again, in my mastermind, I teach my clients how to do this specifically, and some really powerful ways to do this really, really well while being very effective in your leadership. The second thing is mentorship and sponsorship programs as well. Now, you don't have to rely on the corporate structure or policies or anything like that for a mentorship or sponsorship program. And again, this is something that I help my leaders to to create, so that your team members feel really, really supported in their roles, because a lot of times, right, they need some way to be able to express themselves outside of the team. They need to have somebody that they can trust, that they can share what's going on with their in their work and get a different perspective. And that's where mentoring and sponsorship can really come in handy, and coaching as well, of course. So definitely looking for opportunities and figuring out a way to carve a path for them to be able to do that, even if there's nothing set up in your company right now. And again, that's something I talk about in more detail in the mastermind. And then thirdly is conflict resolution and mediation. So very simply, one of the things that I always encourage my leaders to do is have a game plan ahead of time, right? You don't want to be in the middle of a fire and then trying to figure out a plan of how to get out or how to put out the fire. You want to make sure that you're anticipating these things, because we're all different, right? There's going to be conflict. Even with people that are very similar, there's still going to be conflict because we're human, right? And so we have different ways of thinking about things. We have different belief systems, different expectations. So with the expectations, of course, you want to make sure expectations are clearly set across the team. But when it comes to conflict resolution and mediation, number one, you need to know as a leader how to approach this. What's the best approach to get the best possible outcome, and to get the best outcome for your team as well, so they feel really good, even though you're navigating conflict, right? And you want to have a game plan, have a set of guidelines, right? What are your team values? What does your team stand for? And more importantly, not just what your team stands for. You need to get buy-in with that, of course, from each member of your team. But you also need to know, okay, how do we come together and figure out how we're going to handle conflict? What's the best way to approach this? It can be on an individual basis, meaning you can have dialogue with your individual team members to find out what's the best way. If somebody has a disagreement or is not on the same page as them, how would they like to be approached? or you can do it in a team setting where the team can come up with their values, what's important to them, and also how they would like to go about managing conflict. So it really just, it breaks down those barriers and those walls ahead of time, because we know we're going to end up in some level of conflict at some point, right? So having, those ground rules ahead of time makes it so much easier. It doesn't add this additional level of stress, because if we've all agreed to an approach, then when the time comes, it's just easy to go back and say, okay, how close are we to to this approach that we've agreed to, and if we're off, what needs to be addressed in that situation. It makes it so much easier for you to lead when you have those parameters and guidelines. And again, I go into that in my Leadership Mastery Alliance mastermind. So if you are interested in knowing exactly how to do this and so much more, there is, at least I think 10 to 12 key points that I cover in the training in that mastermind. And so that mastermind is for basically high achieving leaders who just want to make a difference. They want to have impact. They don't want to burn out, and they want to reduce their stress, but still have an incredible impact, not just on the team, but on the business. And then overall, they just want to make a difference in the world. So if that is you, let me know in the comments below, or just go ahead and send me a private message as well, and I can tell you more about that mastermind. We're actually in an enrollment period right now, so doors are open for that. So if you want to get in on that, and let me know, and I'm happy to point you in the right direction. So thank you so much. I look forward to hearing from you. And again, if you wouldn't mind posting below, you can like, comment, and share this post. That would be great if you feel like it would be helpful to others. But also just post in the comments below what you're taking away, and if there's anything that you would add to this as well. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.